Hi, welcome to ACCQ Continuing Professional Education. Nandito na tayo sa bagong lesson natin dito sa accounting, which is yung tinatawag na accounting equation. This is the basic of all the yung bang nangyayari sa accounting. Lahat ng transaction, not only in accounting but also sa business in general. So when there is a financial transaction, even non-financial transaction, this accounting equation is affected. So this is depicted by the equation A is equal to L plus E. So para madaling tandaan, ito yung yung moniker, yung abbreviation na or yung tawag rin ALE, no. You know, when we talk about ALE, we thought na yung babae, no. So madaling tandaan, or yung parang yung drink ginger ale, no. So ALE or ale, no, or ALE, which means asset is equal to liabilities or equity. A stands for assets, L stands for liabilities, and E for equity. Now, let's go now dun sa definition ng A is equal to L plus E. So let's start first with A, or assets. Ano ba itong assets? Now, we have all this misconception about assets. Ang iba pag narinig yung assets, yung something that we own, yung bang sa atin. No? So, I guess most of us here do have that misconception. Pero ano ba talaga yung assets, no? Now, let's go to the definition of the assets. Kung ano yung talaga yung bang official definition as far as accounting is concerned. Let's see. Assets are the economic resources you control that have resulted from past events and can provide you with economic benefits. Na, do we see the word own dito sa definition na to? Parang wala, di ba? So ano-ano yung mga kailangan natin i-take note dito sa definition na to? First is that assets are the economic benefits that you control, that have resulted from past events and can provide you with economic benefits. So these are the three words, the key words that define assets. Control means that you have the exclusive rights to enjoy the benefits of the economic resource and have the ability to prevent others from enjoying those benefits. Medyo selfish yung yung definition ng control, no? But that is the way it is. Ganito yung definition ng assets. You must have control. You don't necessarily have to own it, no? Kahit na sabihin mong example, no? Merong isang buyer, binili niya yung let's say yung asset, let's say a building, no? Pero dun sa building na yun, it's not dun sa building na yun, yung binili niya, merong kumbaga merong mga encumbrances dun sa titulo. So may mga nagki-claim na iba na nakaano siya, kumbaga nandun siya sa may kaso siya. Okay, so may na-file pa na kaso. No, so meron siyang notation dun sa titulo niya na he cannot sell it, he cannot transfer it, although he owns it. Now, under the definition of asset, he does not control the asset. Wala siyang control doon. Meron pang isang example, let's say for example, yung telecommunication company, grinant yung isang let's say yung buyer na ng cellphone, no? For the next 2 years meron siyang binabayaran niya yon over the next 2 years yung cellphone na yon, no? Pero hindi pa yung fully paid, but he has control over that asset. Pwede niyang gamitin, no? And he has control over the economic benefits. So hanggang sa ma-fulfill niya yung obligation niya for the next 2 years, na kahit na may liability siya attached dun sa asset na yon, he still controls it. Therefore it is an asset, no? For him, it is his physical possession of an asset is not necessarily control para masabi mo na ano na asset mo 'yon, no? Kasi pwedeng hawak-hawak mo 'yon or nagagamit mo pero wala kang control doon. A good example of that is yung bank deposit. Now, even though hindi mo siya wala sa physical possession mo, but you have control over it. Pwede mong i-withdraw anytime you want, no? You can deposit as well. So, that still constitutes as your asset because you can control over something that which you do not possess it presently. Next one is past events. The control over an economic resource have resulted in a past event or transaction. So yung future event na gagawin mo pa lang, wala ka pang wala ka pang control doon. So therefore it's not hindi mo pa economic resource. So therefore it's still not your asset. Halimbawa, bibili ka ng cellphone, no? Yung iniisip mo, like say next week bibili ako ng cellphone, mapapasa akin yan. So kahit ano yung pagnanasa mo na mapapasa iyo yan yung next week, sa ngayon hindi mo pa siya asset kasi wala pa hindi pa nangyari. It's still not a past event. Magiging sa iyo lang yan pagka ginawa mo na. So pagka meron ng action, meron ng past event, pag meron ng nangyari. Next, and the last one is the economic benefits. To be an asset, an economic benefit must have the potential to provide you with economic benefits. Kumbaga, baliwala lang yung asset kung hindi mo ma-enjoy, kung hindi ka magbe-benefit, no? So in any of these circumstances, for example, sold, leased, transferred, or exchange cash for other assets. Meron kang property pero hindi mo naman siya maibenta, hindi mo naman siya mai-transfer. So still you don't have any control of that, no? And you cannot enjoy yung economic benefits. Next is use singly or in combination with other assets to produce goods or provide services. So this is part of the definition of yung economic benefits, which is also part of the definition of asset as a whole. No, halimbawa yung pagka nagbenta ka ng let's say ng goods, no? For example, may magandang goods yan, let's say cellphone, no? So meron kang income doon, no? You're able to enjoy yung economic benefits in exchange for the cash that you exchange, no? And then next is used to enhance the value of other assets. So, for example, yung meron kang building, no? So medyo dilapidated na, so i-enhance mo, paparenovate mo, so it enhances yung value ng other assets. So tataas yung value niya. So therefore, yung enhancement or yung renovation is also part of your asset. And the next one is used to promote efficiency and cost saving. So kung let's say meron kang makinarya doon sa let's say pagawaan mo ng t-shirt, no? Pero luma na. No? So kaso yung bang siya, no? Medyo pa-retire na. So meron kang bumili ka ng bagong equipment na para mas marami kang ma-produce kasi mas bago. So mas mas mabilis, mas efficient. So it nagkakaroon ng efficiency, nagkakaroon ka ng savings doon in return kasi mas marami kang nagagawa sa konting oras. And then last is yung used to settle a liability. So kung meron kang utang, no? Of course meron kang cash, meron kang asset, pwede mong ipambayad yun kasi sa'yo yun. So these are just examples of economic benefits. Now, let's go to liabilities. Liabilities. Siyempre, kung may assets, merong liabilities and equity. So, pag-uusapan natin ngayon yung liabilities. Doon sa, kasama siya doon sa accounting equation na A is equal to L plus E. Ano ba yung liabilities? Well, to look at the formal definition, it says here that liabilities are your present obligation that have resulted from past events that require you, medyo nahihilo yung camera, no? That require you to give up resources, require to give up economic resources when settling them. So, kung titignan natin, halos pareho lang siya ng definition ng assets. Yun nga lang, instead of receiving yung yung economic benefits, they give up yung benefits na yun or yung economic resource na yun. Now, so these are the keywords that we should look, no? First is have resulted from past events. So this is also true with the assets, no? They have resulted from past events. So sa liabilities naman, na-incur na nila yung obligation, nangyari na. And can require you to give up economic resources. Now, since na-incur na nila yung obligation na ika nga sabi, the damage has been done, then mag-require na sila magbayad or to give up yung economic resources in the near future. Now, there are two elements of a liability that comes from, it's either number one is yung from legal and the second is constructive. A legal obligation is an obligation that results from a contract, legislation, or other operation of law. So a good example here is yung lessor-lessee relationship, no? Or lessor-lessee relation, yung bang yung umuupa saka yung nagpapaupa. So meron silang kontratang sinusundan. Sa legislation naman, ito naman yung mga let's say yung sa batas na meron tayo mga sinusunod na kumbaga mga panuntunan, no, and other operations of law. So in other words, basta may kinalaman sa kontrata or other legal matters. Constructive obligation are obligations that resulted from your past actions that have created a valid expectation on others that you will accept in the discharge of certain responsibilities. A good example here is yung sa warranty dun sa appliance. Let's say bumili ka ng appliance sa isang appliance center. Now the appliance center is constructively liable in the future pagka pinaayos yung let's say hindi na-meet yung certain standards nung binili nila, then yung appliance center will have that responsibility para ayusin yon. So ganun yung constructive obligation. Let's take up more about yung present obligation, yung dalawang characteristic ng liability. So these are the yung kaninang tinake up natin. Number one is have resulted from past events and yung economic resource. Ano ba yung present obligation as a result of past events? So these are the requisites. Number one, you have already obtained economic benefits or taken action. So na benepisyohan ka na. For example, merong nakuha mo na yung cellphone, no? So kailangan bayaran mo na. Or let's say nakuha mo na yung proceeds from a loan from a bank. No, so you need to pay yung principal and interest in the future. And so that constitutes also the liability. And number two is, as a consequence, you are required to transfer an economic resource. So incidentally, yung pamangkin ko umiiyak dun sa labas na he's practicing his vocal cords every morning. As a consequence, you have required to transfer an economic resource. So ito yung so dahil nabenepisyohan ka na, let's say yung loan, nakuha mo na yung pera dun sa utang mo sa bangko, then you're bound to pay. So you are required to transfer an economic resource. So economic resource yung perang ibabayad mo sa bangko in the future. Now, yung bang pag sinabing let's say yung cellphone na yon, kukunin mo siya next week, no? So hindi pa present obligation yon. So wala pang liability yon kasi hindi pa nangyari yon. Di ba kailangan may nangyari na? So ganito rin dito sa sa liability. Kailangan may nangyari na bago the damage has been done bago ka magkaroon ng liability. So ayun yung so you have already obtained economic benefits and taken action. And number two is giving up economic resource, settling the obligation necessary would require you to pay cash to transfer other non-cash assets or to render a service. So meron ng since meron ng past action coming from you, so you are required to give up economic resource to settle yung obligation na yon, yung responsibility na yon. For example, sa school, no, nakapagbayad na yung estudyante, so the school itself, no, magpo-provide na ng service in the form of teaching, no? So this is especially true also in this online classes. Marami nga kasi puro online classes na ang nangyayari ngayon, no? So ito yung mga salient features ng obligation. So first, you, as a result of past events, and you will be able to, or you are bound to give up yung economic resource para pambayad dun sa na-incur na liability. Now again, meron dalawang klaseng yung kung saan pinanggagalingan yung source ng obligation. Number 1 is yung legal, and number 2 yung constructive. Legal, halimbawa, yung let's say it arises from a contract, legislation, no? Na pag-usapan natin kanina yung contract, ngayon naman yung legislation. Let's say merong kumita ka for the next let's say for 1 year, more than 250,000 yung tax mo. So you're bound to pay income tax. Wala man sa kontrata yun, but it is legislated. No, so nabenepisyohan ko dun sa income na yun. So it's about time na magbigay ka in the form of tax dun sa government. So those are because of your kumbaga that is also yung bang exercise mo to free exercise for your business, no, to conduct your business. And yung legal, of course, that comes from legal contracts, no. So pagka yung sa constructive naman, ito naman yung mga let's say yung mga purchases mo, let's say to a let's say bumili ka ng cellphone merong merong policy sila pagka pagka merong defect yung cellphone, pwede mong ibalik or pwede mong ipaayos. So that is constructive liability. So these are practically some of the issues dito concerning kung kung ito ba ay liability or hindi. Let's talk about equity. Ano ba itong equity? Dun sa accounting equation na assets is equal to liabilities plus equity. Gaano ba kahalaga ito? Well, ito lang naman yung pera mo as the owner of the business, no? So, looking at the definition, equity is simply assets minus liability. So, other terms for equity are net worth, capital, net assets. Kasi yung tinanggal mo na yung liability from the assets. So that's why sa yung pera mo na yon. So a good example would be, let's say gusto mo magnegosyo. Now, meron kang pera dun sa bangko. Let's say meron kang 10,000 pesos. No, gusto mo mag-put up ng maliit na negosyo lang, no? And then so yun yung yun yung pinaka pera mo, pera na galing sa iyo. Now, kulang ka pa let's say ng 15,000 doon para maka-invest ka dun sa negosyo mo. So yung 15,000 na yun, pwede mo siyang utangin. So, halimbawa, pumunta ka sa kaibigan mo para umutang ka, tapos hindi ka pinautang. So, ang magiging equation niyan is that your assets is equal to, if this is the case, no? Assets equal to liabilities plus equity, your assets would be 10,000. Liability is 0 plus yung equity mo, ito yung pera mo, it becomes 10,000 pesos. So makikita natin balance pa rin sila. Now, assuming merong nagpautang sila, let's say pinautang ka ng bangko, let's say for 15,000. So yung yung pinautang sa'yo would be your liability. 15,000 plus yung previous na pera mo na 10,000 would give you 25,000 as your assets. So, when you deduct yung 15,000 from the 25,000 of assets, that would give you yung 10,000 pesos. Now, this is your equity or your net worth, no, kung tawagin. No, so, madalas natin marinig yung term na net worth, no? Especially dun sa mga rich and famous, na yung net worth ni Bill Gates is ganito. So, ito na yung pera niya. I think yung ano ata, yung the richest man in the world, si Jeff Bezos, net worth is somewhere between mga 140 billion dollars, no? So ito yung ano, yung bang pinaka ano na yan. I don't know, you check it out, no? I'm just making a guesstimate. So because last time I heard around that range, no? So, yung sinasabi niyang net worth na 140 billion dollars, wala nang utang yon, sa kanya na yon. So, ganito rin dito, pagka sa capital, sa equity mo, na wala na, labas na yung utang dito. So, that's why this is the equation. A is equal to L plus E, or assets is equal to liabilities plus equity. Now, in the next session, we will talk about yung expanded accounting equation. So, ano ba yung mga iba pang elements ng accounting equation aside from this one? So, with that, stay safe, God bless, and keep your hands clean.